I can't just have my heart broken one time. That's not okay. Like, I feel like I'm more...
What do you think you deserve to
No,
have your heart
genuinely.
broken? Hello, welcome back to Sextras.
Where we talk about sex and all the extras.
I'm Honey.
And I'm Maria.
And this week we're going to talk about the very important question. To date or not to date?
This question has been asked, all the way back to Shakespeare's time.
Shakespeare started this whole discussion.
So I'm sure you guys will be familiar.
Sextras pioneer.
No, but in all honesty, we were kind of like, what's been on our minds lately? Like, what have we been talking about a lot? And I don't know, we've been talking a lot about how our friends and like me, I guess I'm included in this, it's sort of like getting to a point in our relationships where it's like we've been together for like quite long. So it's like, okay, so it's this either like the kind of there doesn't seem to be an end to this.
Yeah.
A little bit. So it's that kind of like, should you be single in your 20s and like realistically live out your best life and experience shit and all of that? Or like, is it perfectly cool to also just be in a relationship and be like settled, quote unquote?
Yeah, but I feel like it's an issue that a lot of people have in their 20s as well, because there's this like idea of what you should be doing, like you should be exploring as your youth. Everyone really idealizes what their 20s should look like and like what you should achieve, and I think we think of relationships as kind of like hindering that in a way, even though that's not necessarily the case. I mean, it's not the case, but for some people they feel like they're missing out a lot,
I guess we can have a you can debate the single side and I can debate the relationship side.
Before we get into the segment, should we say what zones
we're
in?
Of course. Yes.
This week, what zone are you in?
Oh my goodness, the yellow is only getting stronger and brighter.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm seeing my boyfriend tomorrow and I'm so excited, but I'm also, in all fairness, feeling a little bit grey because I'm just a little bit stressed, like travel stress, like also with COVID it's just even more travel stress. So I'm just a little bit stressed about like stuff that needs to be done and all of that, and I'm just really burnt out. I'm so tired this week. Just this week, there's not like burnout is a little bit far, I guess, but I just feel really tired. And I'm kind of excited to have this like little week holiday.
It will be so fun
with my man.
Paris.
I'm really excited.
Could you want?
I'm so excited. But that's me. That's my very yellow. I guess not that yellow with a little hint of grey. But what about you?
Red. We're so boring. We're always the same zone, but definitely red, like chaotic, a bit chaotic.
Do you think the red is getting flamier?
Maybe a bit. I'm just like, I need to get fucked. And like, who am I gonna fuck realistically? I don't know. And then just white again. I don't know, maybe yellow. Like, I'm just loving life right now. But like,
nice.
I'm a bit red and horny. It would be good if there was some sex in there as well.
Fair enough. Okay.
So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on what happens with that. I really don't know.
Yeah, you do gotta keep us updated.
To be single or not to be single? This is the big question of the day. To be single and not be fucked ever, or to be in a relationship and be fucked more regularly.
Someone's in the red zone and someone's in the yellow zone for a reason.
Yeah, but to be honest, okay, we'll obviously get into this.
I'm joking.
We'll get into this. Let's move on.
So let's get into the segment.
And you guys again really pulled through with this week's segment, so thank you.
Yeah, we're loving this 2022 energy, guys. Honestly,
thank you. It really, oh, it's so annoying when no one responds.
Yeah, it is sad.
But yeah, we got some good feedback because I feel like, as we said, it is something that people actually really struggle with.
Yeah, it's been in the air. It's been in the air, as we said.
Yeah. So we started by asking, do you care more about your freedom or finding love in your 20s? And 70% of people said freedom and 30% of people said love. So who's on the winning side? Me.
I'm not surprised by that though.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, well, obviously it's just because like we don't have all the words in the world to make a question and like explain exactly what we mean, and we don't even really know exactly what we mean. But like freedom, I don't really think that like you lose it if you have love. So to me it's not like they're not exclusive, and this is like a big thing that I kind of want to get into in the topic, like you know, I want to, what's that word, like break down that misconception, because I feel like I hear that all the time of like, if you're in a relationship you don't have any freedom, or like you can't do what you want, and I don't think that's really necessarily true.
A few people did message us to say like, I need an option for both, or like, oh, one doesn't negate the other kind of thing. So, and we obviously get that, but a poll you can only put 2 options, so that's what you're getting. Sorry. Next thing that we asked.
So, would you rather meet the person you're going to end up with now, or live out the rest of your 20s single/dating around? And 39% of people said now, and 61% of people said later. So see, I think this one was like getting a little bit more at like, more specifically, like not putting freedom against love. And then this one, and so you can see like it's a little bit higher on the love one, which is the now one.
Interesting. So then we asked, send us more of your thoughts on the dilemma of to date or not to date. As in, how do you feel about being in a relationship at a young age? Do you think it's better to explore and be single, or is it better to date someone long term? Will you feel like you're missing out either way? We want to know it all. Yeah, so the first one people said was, I think when you find the person you want to be with, you're going to be with them regardless of your age, which is true. But then, that's kind of like the issue at hand is you're not about to like turn away someone that you really like, because in most cases if people find someone that they really like, they will date them to begin with, but then as the relationship progresses, that's when the problems start arising of like, oh, should I have held off a bit? And like people did say this, so it's like it's tricky, like should you put it off and just turn someone away first thing, because that's kind of fucked up. That would be horrible to have to do that. But then do you like essentially, I mean, not that it's a waste of time, but essentially like date knowing that you're gonna break up because you want to like explore?
For sure, but I do think that that's why this is even a problem, as you said, like it's like you find someone, you meet someone and you start dating them, and then you're like, oh shit, I like really love this person, but then it's like, oh shit, but I'm like 21. Like there's so much more left to do, but obviously I really care about this person, so it's like, how do you walk away from that? But I mean, I think like most people, if they do find someone that they really like, it's like you kind of just follow your feelings. It's like at that point you're kind of just a prisoner to your feelings in those circumstances. I feel like you know, rationale goes out the window.
I've definitely been in that situation.
Okay, someone else said, I'm in an almost 3-year relationship, and sometimes I feel like I'm missing out on the fun parts of dating. But before this, I was single for a year and just wanted to be in a relationship. So,
that's tricky. Yeah, because also another massive thing that I think we wanted to hone in on is this, like, is there a better option? And I think essentially that will be our conclusion to give away the end of the episode. But it's kind of hard because a lot of people will feel like they're missing out either way. Like the grass is always greener.
Exactly. Like that's exactly what she's saying. It's like when you're in a relationship, I feel like this happens to you a lot as well. It's like, well, not really, but like you'll be
not
like,
when I'm single. Only when I'm in a relationship. So that's my answer.
Yeah, no, but yeah, that is such a thing. Like, obviously, the grass, people always think the grass is always greener.
Yeah. And then the next one, someone said, I think travel is a big thing with to date or not to date. Everyone should experience it, which I guess it is kind of. Yeah, I feel like this is quite controversial because some people will be like, oh, you can travel with your partner, blah, blah, blah. Like, it'll be so fun to travel with your soulmate or whatever. But you don't really have as much freedom, and like, yeah, it might be super cute, but I feel like that's something you can do later on in life, is travel with a partner, whereas your 20s is like travel by yourself and like meet people, have experiences and stuff. And that's not to say it's like better to do that, but I kind of do think that when people think of traveling, they think of going alone and like finding themselves, and it's not really the same dynamic if you're traveling with someone that you're dating.
I guess. Okay, fine. I see a little bit more what was meant, but when I read this, I was like, what? Like, what? Why can you not travel if you're in a relationship? Like, that just makes no sense to me.
There's like a little passport and it has like single or in a relationship, and they're like, oh, you're in a relationship, you can't go, sorry.
I was like, what? Nah, like, I've traveled, and I just, not even with my boyfriend, I've literally traveled like one time with my boyfriend. And I've had a great time. I do get what you're saying about, like, the whole idea of traveling and this finding yourself thing. And even if you do go alone, because I think, like, even if you're in a relationship, you can just go off by yourself and go traveling alone. That's perfectly fine thing to do. But I do get that it's, like, you wouldn't have the same mindset.
Yeah, and then the whole question of long distance comes into play, and it's like, are you going to make this person wait for you? Maybe they didn't sign up for that. Maybe they're like going to be worried about what you're doing while you're traveling.
No. I get it.
A whole load of issues arise. Like, if your boyfriend was like, I am going to go traveling for 6 months and like not see you, and like you don't really know what he was doing, how would you feel about that?
I'd just be like, why don't you just take me with you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, okay, fine. I see it. I see what you guys mean. Okay, fine. Next one. I'm probably not going to stay with who I date in my 20s, but also I get lonely on my own. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, because my point of view has always been, like, it doesn't matter that you're not going to end up with this person. Like, I don't agree with the argument of, like, what's the point if you're, like, you're either going to marry them or break up, so what's the point?
Yeah.
And to me, I just really disagree with it, because, like, I think if it's like, okay, when I was 19, I was, like, with this guy and I was having a great time. Like, I was really, like, I was happy doing that. And, like, if right now in this moment, I'm like, oh, I'm happy doing this, it's like, I don't see that as, like, a pointless thing or a waste of time, because, like, I don't know, to me, it's like, oh, what's the point of being friends with this person because, like, I'm going to move schools for sixth form? Like, what?
Yeah, that's quite a good analogy,
I don't know, like, to me it's like, why would you not, like, seek these relationships and like seek things that you want to do in that moment?
No, I
like,
do agree.
just for the reason of, like, oh, we're not gonna end up together, so it's pointless. It's like, you'll learn so much and you have so many experiences together anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that logically that it makes no sense to say that, but like, still, when I date people, I think that, like, what is the point? We're not gonna end up together. Or like, if I'm talking to someone on Hinge, I'm like, am I ever gonna meet you? No. Are we ever gonna date? No. So like, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that a little bit more, because it's like, if you're not even gonna meet someone, like, if you're not gonna really get anything out of it.
Yeah. Which sounds so fucked up, but that is kind of the same as like being in a relationship, because even if, like, once you break up, you will have gotten stuff out of it in a way. Like, you learn things from people and you learn things about yourself.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it definitely is, but I'm just saying, like, I get where this person is coming from, because I have that mindset too. Like, I still think that all the time when I'm dating someone, but then I think that's just your mind telling you that, like, maybe you just don't want to date them.
Yeah. And I do get that, because I do get the feeling of, like, you break up and then you're like, right, so I just spent all this time and effort, like, investing into this person and now I haven't, like, I'm left with, like, nothing or close to nothing. So I do understand that
it
a
can
lot
be
as
very
well.
disheartening.
Yeah, of course, I understand that.
Then someone said, being in a long-term relationship now is amazing, but with more time spent together means that we get more serious. As two people in our early 20s, it's tough thinking about the future in terms of how much we save our relationship and how much we keep our freedoms to explore, travel, etc. Trying to find a balance and prioritize growth this year as we move into our first apartment together post-uni. So wish me luck. Overall, I'd say if you aren't attached now, date, but without expectations and putting you first. Yeah, I think that's a good mindset to have, and again, capturing that kind of anxiety that we were thinking about when we were planning this episode of like, it is just so deep, like the kind of, I mean, not that you're in this situation, but we have like had conversations where it's like, if you break up now, it will be like, fuck, what do I do? And you're gonna keep going forward, and like your lives are gonna keep becoming more and more entangled, because realistically, to make your relationship survive post uni, like in the real world, you're gonna have to move in together at some point, and like what I think is, there's a lot of anxiety around that in people our age who've been in relationships throughout uni and now going forward into their lives of like, what the fuck is gonna happen if we break up in like 2 years? I will have just spent all of these like 6 years of my prime like youth time dating this person, only for us to break up, which again is kind of the same argument of like, what do you date someone if you're just gonna break up? What's the point? But it's such a problem. Like, it can cause such big problems with people who just feel like they're too young to be settling down and moving in or whatever.
Yeah. No, I really resonate with this submission. Like, it is sort of like, I know that I'm really young and I have to still prioritize, like, as we were saying, like finding yourself or whatever, and learning like more about like what I want to do, and prioritizing like my career and like just like where I want to go in life outside of like relationships and all of that. But then at the same time, it's like, but I also need to invest time into this relationship because I care about it and I've already invested so much time. So it's like, how do you like balance that? Especially as she was saying, like if they're going to move in together, then it's like, that's a huge like goes on the relationship side, on like focusing a lot on the relationship side, because it's like you're moving in with someone like that you're in a relationship with for the first time. It's like, that's a big thing. That's like adult shit.
Yeah, that's real life stuff.
Yeah, so like that's fucking scary when you're in this like pseudo adult kid world of uni and like basically living together in a way. Not even if you're not living in the same house, I'm just saying like, even if you live in exactly like in, or even in like different uni houses, like you'll see each other a lot. So yeah, I resonate, and I do think it's like, it's a little bit anxiety provoking, but yeah, good luck, girl.
Yeah, good luck to you. Keep us updated.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you're moving in with your boyfriend. I feel like loads of people, like when I've kind of pitched that, have been a little bit like, oh, like really? So glad to hear someone else is doing it.
A lot of people that I've spoken to have been like, why would you move for someone in your 20s? Like, that's so stupid.
I don't know. We'll get into it. We haven't even gone through the segment.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone else said you could be in a long-term relationship and still explore and date people consensually. So
I mean, we can get into
opening it up a little bit. Is that what they're referring to?
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, neither of us really have experience with this, but we'll definitely touch on it a bit later in the episode.
Someone else said, oh my god, this is for me. I met the love of my life half a year ago and got into a relationship with him thinking I was ready, but now I'm realizing I wish I put it off until I knew I was ready to settle down. But I don't really want to let go of him because he literally feels like the one, but I also miss being single, and when I tell you it bothers me every day, I'm not lying. Oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, I think I would be in this position. Like, I would feel the same way if I was in your position. But then it's so difficult because if you think about it every day, then it's like, surely that's kind of what you're leaning towards.
Yeah.
But then also I'm sure there's plenty of very positive things about your relationship too. Clearly, you're saying he's the one. But I don't know, I think a lot of people successfully break up for a while in their 20s and then get back together once they've like explored things. And like maybe if you can do that, then it's like you are meant to be together, clearly. But I think,
Yeah, but how do you like actually talk yourself into letting that go and potentially losing it, you know? But I know I agree. Like if you do think he's the one or whatever, but you are clearly like very much thinking about this a lot of like being single and missing it. It's like, girl, you might regret it. Like,
yeah, what if you actually end up together and then you never had those experiences, and then you just feel like resentful of them in a way that they held you back and you never got to see your other options, because there might be someone else who's equally as much the one as this person, and you would never know. But then also, do you give up that one person for the hope of there being someone equally as much the one? Like, it's so complicated.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it's so difficult. But yeah, we feel you. Someone else said, I enjoy the security of a relationship during early 20s, which can be a super rocky time. Okay, interesting, a different perspective. Like a little bit of security at a time when everything else is up in the air. I get that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Especially like if you don't feel like your family provide that security, because for a lot of people that is the case. And yeah, I mean, people that like get married young, sometimes their reasoning is like they never had a solid home environment growing up, or like they had a difficult childhood, so it's super nice to find like consolation and safety in someone that you love at a young age, which I get.
Yeah, I'd never really thought about that, but I think when I was graduating and when I was like, oh shit, I don't really like know what I want to do, and when it was this whole, like, I was getting kind of like anxious about it, like I wasn't really having a fun time about it, and I guess it was kind of nice to have like my relationship as like something that I know for sure that is like, okay, this is fine. If I don't have this, then it's like whatever. But then again, I feel like at the same time, like having that is like completely, as we were saying, like took the attention away from like, okay, like what do I want to do? And it's like, instead of figuring that shit out, it was more like, okay, I'll just focus on my relationship then. And like,
yeah, like sometimes it gets too comfortable.
Yeah. So I do see it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Like obviously it's really nice to have that consistency and security, and like you know that that's going to be there, but at the same time I can see why it can like hinder from finding your own shit.
Yeah, and the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, it's just so complicated and difficult. I don't know how people deal with it.
Okay, someone else said, I'm in a long-term relationship and you definitely get those am I too young, this feels very forever feelings. But the only freedom you lack in a relationship is that of having multiple romantic/sexual relationships. I sometimes definitely feel like I'm missing out, but then I think, well, why? Is that because I care, or because I've been told/raised to think I shouldn't be happy in a long-term relationship because I'm too young? It's something I'm still learning, but shifting my outlook to be. I'm happy. If this lasts, I have to go with that. Similarly, if I start to become unhappy, I should think about that. But why leave something that makes me happy just because I get FOMO from time to time? For me, it feels like the only thing I miss out on is the culture of being single and having multiple entanglements, for lack of a better word. But I can go to bars and flirt with my friends and travel and move country just the same as a single person. That is like low-key my exact feelings. Like literally to a T how I feel about it. That's like kind of what I was trying to get at. Like if I'm happy, then why would I leave this? Similarly, if I'm unhappy, then like, yeah, I guess I'll have to look at leaving it.
Yeah.
Like exactly like she said.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of just like a go with the flow, green zone. Like if you're happy, there's no point in leaving. I think, as we were saying with the last one, like if it gets to a point where your feelings of like questioning and doubt are so much stronger than like feeling good about the relationship, then that's when you know it's time to at least consider like breaking up or moving on or exploring other options. Like maybe you open up the relationship and maybe the other person is feeling the same way. Like you don't know until you talk about it. And I think we have, as this person touched on, such a set idea of what our 20s should look like, and we're kind of told, oh, you're too young to do that, you're too young to get married, you're too young to be in love, this is what your 20s should look like you should focus on your career and you should travel and you should do all these things. But you can't just ignore your feelings just because you're young. Like that makes no sense, and that invalidates every 20-some people's feelings and experiences. And we need to like expand our idea of relationships. Like it doesn't even, this is like, it all comes down to the problem of like, well, it doesn't all, but like monogamous relationships, and like that we just have such strict ideas of what things should be, and it really doesn't have to be that constrained and like forced and difficult.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with what you're saying. The thing that's so like weird about this, and why I think it does become such a thing like when you're in your 20s, is because it's like you're going from sort of like a high school like teen relationship where it's like you still live with your parents, like you realistically, like you're not gonna go and do anything serious like that serious. But then once you like start leaving uni, and like as we said, like you're in the pseudo adult world, but then you're like actually going into the adult world, it's not necessarily about whether you're happy, so I'll just stay in it, like I'll just keep going with it, because it's starting to get into more like the next step is like, okay, well now we're kind of moving out of our houses, so are we gonna move in together? And I feel like that's more than like I'm happy so I'll just go along with it. Like you're moving in together, that's a commitment, like a much bigger commitment than just like even just committing to a relationship. And because you are in your 20s and starting to sort of think about what your future is going to look like and what your life is going to look like, naturally it's like you kind of have to start thinking about things together. So then I think that's why it becomes such a like, shit, what do I do? Because it's like either you kind of start to live this adult relationship and with like adult responsibilities, adult things to think about, or you kind of like
stay very comfortable and like sheltered.
But not even necessarily, like you live, like you navigate your 20s alone, and I guess like take it more at your own pace, because I think if you're already at a 3-year-long relationship, like when you're leaving uni, I'm not saying you have to move in and now you have to start doing all these serious things, not at all, but I'm just saying because like you are naturally in that stage yourself, it's like your relationship also comes along with that, so it's more shit to think about in a way, but it's also facilitates it, as I was saying, rather than this like scary thing of like entering your 20s alone or whatever. Not that that's scary, I don't know.
No, but I also think there's like a very big difference between loving someone and being happy in a relationship at uni and like in this in-between stage, as we're saying, where you're still like pretty comfortable. Probably you might be living at home, or you're in a uni house and you're still in this like very narrow bubble of existence, to like going into the real world and suddenly being confronted with all these choices, as you were saying, like having to navigate these things together, or like you get a job and you start to meet all these different people, and your whole idea of what life can be starts expanding, and maybe that doesn't include that person anymore, and that's really sad, and the relationship might not survive that, but you only really know until you start experiencing those things, and like not letting yourselves experience that together could be a shame. It could also be amazing to be single, but it's just, you never really know, basically. I think the whole thing is that your early 20s, probably your whole 20s, and like maybe even 30s are just this time of like complete uncertainty, and I think that's gonna exist regardless of like whether you're single or in a relationship. So yeah, it's just like whether you want to make the choice to bring someone along into that like whole mess, or you just want to do it by yourself. But like that's kind of like my idea of this whole debate of like, it's just not worth it for me, because I just know how I am in a relationship. I know I'll just be thinking about how I want to be single, and like it's not really fair to drag someone along with that when like I value my independence and my freedom so much. Not that you can't have that in a relationship, but for me, I don't feel like I have that, and I think I just thrive when I'm single. Like I know what I want way more. I can think about myself, and like I don't have to think about someone else's feelings all the time, and even if that's not what I want to do, that's always what I end up doing. So I think it's like, again, it's also a lot about how you work in a relationship and like your attachment style and all of these things. There's so much to consider, and also what kind of career you want to have, and you just don't, you'll never know. Basically.
I also wanted to say that I do feel like if you are in a relationship and you are having these like, because sometimes like when you guys are talking about your lives and like your dating lives and like sexcapades or whatever, I'm kind of like, oh, like I'm kind of jealous, like and I feel like obviously I feel guilty, you know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it's completely normal to be like, everyone feels FOMO, like everyone, about so many random things, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is very normal, and it doesn't really mean that you're like not happy in your relationship or whatever. But as we keep saying, it's like, it's quite daunting to be like, oh shit, is this like for reals then? Like what's gonna happen? Like am I ever gonna do this again?
Yeah.
Even though that still like to me feels so naive and premature to say. I'm not like, oh, I'm gonna like marry my boyfriend. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
But it is like more of a like realistic possibility and fear of shit, like what if I actually never get to do all of these things again? And it's like, am I okay with that? Like, am I really gonna be fine if I never date a girl again? Like, is that, I don't know, I think it's more common than you think. Like, even just looking back and being like, oh, like maybe I should have gone for that person, or like maybe I should have stayed with that person. I feel like whatever you do, it's like there's potential to regret it. And I feel like a lot of the time it's like, oh, like I'm missing out on all this stuff in my 20s, which is like not a real thing. Whereas like your relationship is a real thing. So to me, even though I have had that thought many times, I have been like, oh shit, like do I like really want to be in this? Like, or do I want to go out and be single and like just do whatever the fuck I want? Because like I know I love doing that, you know. Like I had a great time like when I was single. That was like one of the best years of my life.
Yeah,
actually the best year of my life. So I mean, like there's a lot of shit pulling me like in that direction, because I do think it can be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's not real. Like even if I can be like, oh, in the past it was really fun, it's like I don't know what it's gonna be like if like tomorrow. And kind of how I was saying, like I'm so scared of my relationship ending, not because like I think I won't be okay, like I know I'll be fine. It's just more of a like, I'd feel like I'd have to relearn dating and like all of that shit, which I guess it's fine because I know everyone in their 20s is kind of like figuring it out, so it's not like I'm at a disadvantage from everyone else. It's okay. But it is kind of like I'm so different now. I don't know, it is just
yeah. No, but I mean, I think talking about the idea of like the ideas that we build up about the other scenario than the one we're in, like I was saying, we have ideas of like what a relationship should look like, especially after uni, or like once you move in together, there is like the expectation of like this next thing to move on to, like getting engaged, having a baby. Not that we're even thinking about that now, but like we do have friends that are like, we're gonna get married, you know. But then you have this whole idea of being single, and as you were saying, that was like the best year of your life or whatever. And I think I thought that too when I was in my last relationship, of like, oh my god, first year of uni was like, or like, not, it wasn't amazing, but like the fact that I was single was so fun. Like I could sleep with people, and I slept with people so regularly, like it was insane. And then I didn't even think about like the reality of what being single would be like now, and I'm still like very, very happy that I'm single, as we all know, but like I don't think I considered that being single 3 years ago is very, very different to me being single now. And like, even still in the middle of a pandemic, how do you date? You can't really have that regular hookups because it's like, am I gonna get COVID? And like, for me, that's a big concern. Am I gonna get COVID? And do I waste my time like on a tube to go meet this person who I don't even really like that much to potentially get COVID? Like, all of these extra considerations, and also just that I am such a different person now. And like, I think when you think of being single in your 20s, it's like going to bars, meeting people every night, having loads of hookups, but like, realistically, it's just me like going to work, coming home, seeing you like twice a week, never go to a bar or like a pub or anything. The only way I can really meet people is like on Hinge. Am I bothered to go on Hinge that often, or like even go on dates that often? Not really. And then it's just like, I don't know, it's so weird because I am just in such a different phase of life to like first year of uni, when I was just sitting in my room all day and I had nothing better to do than like go fuck someone. And now like I have a job and the podcast, and like I barely have time to see our friends, which is like my priority, let alone like go out looking for someone that I want to fuck. And also my standards are so much higher now, so it's kind of makes it so hard. Like, it's just so weird that we have this idea of everything as being like, oh, that would be amazing, and it's just realistically, it's not like bad, but it's just not the idea that you had in your head. And maybe it is better to be in a relationship if you're going to be disappointed by that idea. Like, maybe you're happy in your relationship, then maybe it's better to be single if that's what you want. I don't know, it's very personal thing. Like, there's no set template for everyone.
But I do think it is honestly just very unfair to meet someone that you really like when you're younger. Like, if it were up to me, I don't understand how the fuck people voted on that poll. Like, so many people voted that they would want to meet the love of their life when they're like 21. It's like, what?
Why?
Like, why would you not rather just like be a hoe and then meet the love of your life?
Or like,
when
maybe
you,
meet them, but like not know them for a while.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't feel ready. Like, obviously, I don't feel ready to settle down in any way, shape, or form. So that's not really how I look at it. But yeah, the prospect of never falling in love with someone again, like, that makes me sad. Like, even like, I can't just have my heart broken one time. That's not okay. Like, I feel like I'm more...
What do you think you deserve to
No,
have your heart
genuinely, I
broken
think
again?
like you need to have your, like, you need to experience like more than one heartbreak, because it's like, how do you know then? How do you know?
It's
like,
quite a humbling
I don't know,
experience.
to me, I genuinely do feel like I have a lot more life left to live. Like, and not that you can't in a relationship, but as in like dating and relationship lessons that I need to learn. Like, I do feel like I do. So I don't know if that's what's stopping me from like actually envisioning my boyfriend and I actually ending up together for real, because I don't really see that. Like, I don't see us ending up together. I do see this happening at one time in my life. So I wonder if like a few years down the line, I'll feel like that submission that was like, oh, I think about it every day.
Yeah.
Because I do think about it, but very like, it's just kind of like, it was more like the final submission of like, like, if I feel FOMO once in a while, like, why would I go for that, you know?
Yeah.
But as I said, I wouldn't feel like it's a waste. I feel like it's like, go after what's making you happy. Like, don't like go after trying to plan for a future that doesn't even exist yet. Like, I'm more of a going with my feelings kind of gal than ration kind of gal, you know?
Yeah.
Rational kind of gal. But that's just me.
Yeah, we're definitely opposites in that regard. But like pretty similar in like every other way. But I was just gonna say, from like my last relationship, that like, I kind of broke my own heart in that situation, even though like I'm like very happy that I made that decision. but like I don't know, I thought I'd just tell this story in case people like need to hear this kind of perspective of like I mean, you probably know if you've been listening to the podcast the whole time, but like I was dating a guy that I met on my study abroad, and obviously I had to move back home, so we ended up doing long distance, and then that ended up going into COVID. We didn't see each other for 7 months. There was this whole issue of like, how are we gonna see each other? Eventually he managed to come visit in the UK. And then there was the question of like, what are we gonna do next? Like, and because he had graduated uni and I hadn't, it was like, okay, well, the realistic thing that's gonna happen is like he'll move to the UK, at least for the time being, or like he'll go backwards and forwards quite often, but then how will he get a job? So then it was like, okay, he's gonna come to the UK, we're gonna live together for a bit, see how that goes, at least till I graduate, and then we can maybe move to, like, I was down to move to America. But then all of this stuff happened, it all got a bit messy, and it ended up that like he couldn't live in the UK, and that was like super difficult because this idea of the relationship that we had, at least for like our 1 year plan, was ruined. And then realistically I didn't want to like spend all this time thinking about, when are we going to see each other, when are we going to move in, when are we going to move, like I'm going to have to move there when I graduate. And it was like, okay, well, I'm only 20, I shouldn't have to be thinking about all these things, these serious things, when I haven't even graduated uni yet. Like I don't even know what real life is like. And if we continue with this relationship, like I might never, I mean, not that I thought like we were going to end up together necessarily, but it was like I might never figure that out. I'll just be basing all of this around like this one person. And that was not something that I was willing to do at 20 years old.
No, I fully get that.
And like he was 24, at a very different stage of life, and like clearly thinking about what his career was gonna look like and all of these things. That was a very different mindset to mine. And then ultimately that's why we broke up. And I think that was like super difficult, and I like looking back now, I'm like proud that I made that decision, because if I hear like, when I hear now about people breaking up, even if they love each other because it was like they were getting too comfortable, or like it just wasn't the right time, all of these things, it's so difficult. And like I feel I'm so impressed by them that they made those decisions, but I'm like, I also made that decision. So I'm like proud of myself, because I like did really love him and like cared about him a lot, but ultimately it was just like, we're too young for this kind of thing. So I mean, anyone who's in that position and like having to make those decisions at any age, it's so difficult. I would imagine it probably gets a bit easier with age, but especially now, like, I hope you're okay.
So what do you think of like moving for someone? You don't think it's okay at this age?
I think it's okay, but I just think like for me, if I had moved to LA, I don't think I would have been happy. I would have been away from my family, and like I think I still need them to a certain extent. And even though I want to move out, like knowing that they're nearby is like super important, especially now that I'm like applying to jobs again and like thinking about what the fuck I'm gonna do with my life. Like I need that security. And I don't think, even though I would have had him, obviously if I had moved to LA, I don't think that would have been enough security for me, trying to figure all those things out. And then also like visa issues, trying to find somewhere to live, working in another country. There are so many problems with that people don't even realize. So it's super difficult. Anyway, that's not really a conclusion to this episode, clearly, but we did just like want to talk about it, because it's definitely something that we discuss a lot, and we have friends, as we said, that are like on two ends of the spectrum. Of like me, I'm super single and like happy with that, versus some of our friends that like are with someone that they genuinely think they're gonna marry. And that's kind of crazy to me, but probably my position is like crazy to them, and you can't really speak to someone else's experience and like what would be best for them. You just really have to keep checking in with yourself and what's going to make you happy. Like as you said, even though sometimes you do feel FOMO, you don't feel it enough to like
Yeah.
break up with someone that makes you very happy.
Yeah.
And like, even though sometimes, like very, very, very rarely, I think, oh, it would be nice to meet someone or like have someone here to cuddle me at night. That is not regular enough for me to like try and find someone to date and like have to deal with all of the extra stuff that comes along with that. So yeah, I don't know. There's not really an answer, but we hope you're okay. And if you want to like send us your dilemmas, send us more stories about this, then please do. We hope this like touched on something that you're feeling in some way.
Yeah, send us your thoughts. Do you think I should move in with my boyfriend at 21?
Or should she move in with me?
Vote now! No, I'm joking, guys.
We hope you enjoyed, as always. You know where to find us, send your stories, send writing about your experiences or art or music or anything you made on Instagram at Sextras Podcast, to our website www.sextraspodcast.com, Facebook Sextras Podcast, email us sextraspodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review or a rating wherever you're listening to your podcasts, and we will see you next week. Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi, produced by Mabel Productions.